Hey everybody, how's it going today? Mark from Big Apple Hockey right here, and I'm trying to talk as fast as I can because my internet's been going in and out for the last 30 minutes. Thank you for everybody that's been waiting for us for the last 15, 20 minutes of start time. And of course, here I am, Mr. Mark Williams. So I try to get everything else up and running, and I'm joined by the man from the hockey news, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
You're very flustered, are you, Mark Williams? But nonetheless, you are here, and hopefully your Wi-Fi doesn't fail you anymore.
It's not even the Wi-Fi, it's the connection to the house. That's where the router is just fine right now. It's just you look up at the modem and it's going, all right, what's going on right here? Hopefully, no problems. Anthony and I tried to start the show about 15 minutes ago, but we couldn't get started because as soon as we were about to start, boop, everything went out. All right, so let's get to the A block, everybody. Quickly, where the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders had their grades from the Athletic. Now, the way they do that, Anthony, and you can correct me obviously if I'm wrong, but you have the writers and that are given their grades, but also the fans and the fan confidence poll that they're showing from that. By the way, the A block is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. And of course, Big Apple Hockey Tricker shirts and hats are available. And so again, with the confidence poll, we did this one last year, and the Rangers and Islanders were ranked very poorly. For this one, they raised up a couple, and you had your own that you said a couple weeks ago just for the Metro Division, and you had Lou Lamoriello ranked third in your Metro Division rankings. But the Atlantic, between the fan vote, I'll go with the graphic up right now in a second, and their opinions, they have the Islanders at 32nd again. Anthony, are they just too negative, or is this just reality?
Um, well, first off, mine was based off the singular GM based on the offseason they had. This article is the entire team's front office, and it's just based on the last few years, not just one time period. So that's the biggest difference.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, it's a little I think it's a little harsh. For both the writers because the public's grade, the writers and the fans were basically the same for the Islanders, and that's a little harsh. I mean, this is a team that has made the playoffs every year, with the exception of 1 year since Lou Lamoriello has been with the team. Back to back conference final trips. So when you look at that in the big picture, I don't see how they could be so low. I just think it's a lot of fans being negative, and this I kind of agree with. You know, yeah, I can get on board with bottom 10 in the league, but not dead last. And it just, again, when it comes down, when you make the playoffs, that many he's been the Lou Lamoriello and his staff have been in charge since 2018, 2019. Since then, like I said, they only missed the playoffs once and the back-to-back conference final trips. So yeah, I think it's a little harsh. I mean, granted, Lou Lamoriello, there's the case because of his age. People want to see him move on. They don't like some of the contracts that he handed out. Scott Mayfield, Pierre Engvall. That's certainly true. Traded Devon Taves, but he's also done a lot of good. So yeah, I certainly think dead last is a little harsh. He had a great draft this year. Cole Eiserman looks like a steal. Some of the other guys they got too. They really replenished their system with. So he had a good draft. Free agency period. Duclair, Siplikov, two good players. And then prior stuff, he's also done a lot of good. Brock Nelson's contract, the Bo Horvat trade is phenomenal. The AAVs to Pelican Pollock are definitely good. Locked up Sorokin, so yeah, I think it's for sure harsh, but I think this really just stems from the fact that people want to see him go just because of his age, and he failed to make the really big move that fans really wanted to see. So I think they kind of hold that against him. But in the reality of the situation is, if Lou Lamoriello never came to the Islanders, there was never any Barry Trotz, and their subsequent success they had after that probably doesn't happen either. A little unwarranted, in my opinion.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on this one. And you mentioned in the totality of the last few years, I think if there's anything, if you want to go back to it, like one of the things they grade on is vision. And I think the fans are having trouble seeing what the vision of the team is. Now, you brought up Siplikov, which could be a steal, and the Islanders could get a really good player out of this. Or, I mean, he could be there's been many guys that come from the KHL and made little to no impact and then have gone back. What was the guy from the Devils again? Gusev was I forgot his name for a
Nikita
second.
Gusev, yeah.
Yeah, Nikita Gusev. I mean, heck, there's always been usually a guy from the KHL that comes in. But then again, what happens if Siplikov is your next Artemi Panarin? Then nobody's going to be complaining about Lou. They're going to be saying what a great job that he did just to get him here. And he was competing with other teams to try to get this kid. Duclair could be a good fit for their first line. And sometimes when you talk about drafting and developing, Anthony, like Noah Dobson would be a credit to the Islanders and their organization and their drafting and developing of him. He's come along slowly. They have obviously Barzell was in the system, so was not Bo Horvat, but Brock Nelson. A little bit flustered of the technical difficulties, guys, getting my brain back together. But I mean, I think it is a little bit too harsh. I understand why it's there. And that I really don't like a lot that's in the pipeline, but it's one of those things you get it, but who knows if one of these things, one of these prospects hits. We're actually trying to get one of them to come on the show very soon. So I think they're being a little bit too harsh on him and the front office right there, because you look at that top line, even their top six, they're a good solid top six. I mean, if it's about the Pajot trade, if your worst thing is that you're keeping JG Pajot, come on. I mean, their defense core is good. Where's really the thing that makes it go 32nd in the league?
It's because Islander fans for the longest time have been clamoring for this mega move, whether it be a free agent signing or trade, and that really hasn't happened. Although I'll argue Bo Horvat was a phenomenal trade. And the other part of it too, as David's alluded to here, prior to this draft, the Islanders had one of the weakest prospect pools in the league. So I think kind of fans have that on their, on top of mind there. But if you look at this, you're flashing right here, trading D plus from public and C minus a little bit from the fan base. I mean, how is that low? I mean, he's won the Bo Horvat trade of Vancouver, I think by a wide margin. Other than that, he hasn't really made too many. I mean, the Pajot trade, a first, a second, and a third. That was a lot, I guess you could say. But look how much Pajot did for him in those two playoff runs. So I don't. Again, the Kyle Palmieri trade again that worked out. He was phenomenal for them in the playoffs. And I mean, would they give up a first round pick? I mean, big deal. So the trading D plus. I mean, I strongly disagree with that. Free agent you could throw that because Lou Lamoriello, aside from Semyon Varlamov, his next biggest signing in free agency was Anthony Duclair. So fine, I get it. You want to give him a low grade in free agency. He hasn't really done much through that avenue throughout the years. So I don't agree with that. I don't disagree with that one. Drafting and development, again, they had one of the weakest farm systems in the league. So again, I won't argue that one either. But roster building, I mean, I guess this team missed the playoffs once in his tenure. So for a roster building, how could you possibly give the guy a D? It doesn't that doesn't jive with me either. So some of this I think is way off base, and some of it is certainly correct. I'm not denying that, but trading for sure, roster building for sure, cap management. If you the contracts he handed out to Mayfield and Engvall in that one, I could see that, yeah. But some of it way too harsh.
Yeah, and it's funny because the fan base was much more harsh when it came to the Islanders and even their own fan base. Because again, I kind of say this about prospects sometimes, Anthony, where you just like when your core is here, they're here. There's nothing else to fill, no slots to fill. I think it is the vision. I think they're having trouble trying to see what this team's going to be. And I mean, this team is probably going to be a playoff team again. Like, who in the Metro, other than the Devils and possibly the Capitals, really got better? I mean, the Penguins aren't getting better, and we'll argue about the Capitals for a while too. So, it's just I kind of look at it and I just think I think the perception is that Lou's not doing anything. Anthony, what's his big move? Everybody keeps thinking about. He wasn't going to go out and sign Stamkos. He wasn't going to go out and land Jake Gensel. It just was not going to happen. So I think sometimes you'll it's like you're trying to ask out the prom queen when you didn't take a shower for a week or something. I like what's this? I'm trying to come up with a metaphor for this. I can't even come up with a metaphor. Anthony, did you freeze too, or did I freeze? All right. Well, apparently, I think we're just having trouble all over Long Island right now, and hopefully that's not the case. Um, there's been terrible weather out here on the islands, and it's it's just it's our how we've been just been okay, and we got Anthony back right now. He's getting on in. Anthony, got you again.
Yeah,
You also missed the poor
Wi-Fi.
metaphor that I tried to work with on that one. It's I really I don't understand who this big signing is that Islander fans were waiting on.
I don't think it's anyone specific. I just think it's just years and years of it being, they're never, really major players in free agency. I think kind of that's the ire of the fans. But yeah, I get it. Like I said, I'm not disagreeing with the grade in free agency. I just think some of the other ones are certainly way too harsh for a team that has had a decent amount of success in his tenure. I mean, that you can't debate that. Facts are facts. They've had a lot of success in his tenure. So there's really no rebuttal on that.
Yeah, and if you add in all that, come on, 32nd in the league, there's got to be a better grade than that for them, especially when you make the playoffs. Like you said, 2 straight years in a row. What's wrong with this? And he might have the steal of free agency, but we're gonna see more about that one. Let's go across town. Let's go over to the New York Rangers. The Athletic had them at number 17. And fan perception, so much worse with drafting and developing. It's funny, their perception is a B minus, fans is a D plus. That is a big gap. Free agency, they're looking at it a different way. And vision, they're looking at it a different way. Anthony, you had Drury as fifth in the Metro when you said he was hamstrung by Jacob Trouba. I agree with you on that one. But what are your thoughts about this one?
Pretty big disconnect between the public, the writers and the fans. Clearly, the fans are much more negative than the writers, which I mean that's par for the course. Writers are basically kind of just like facts based, and a lot of fans run on emotion. So I think that's why you see the discrepancy there. But overall for the Rangers, I mean, I would say that you know, the drafting development, the grade from the fans, I agree with that. I agree, and I think we've all mentioned and talked about that on this show throughout various episodes. that the Rangers drafting and development, has not been good. Has not been good. I mean, Kapokako, second overall, going into his fourth year, fourth or fifth
Fifth
year right
year.
now,
Fifth year.
and not good. Prior to this year, Lafreniere, not particularly good. Nils Lundqvist, I'll never let you and Phil live this one down, but I remember how you guys were pumping his tires so hard going into the year, his
Yep.
first year with the Rangers, talking about Calder and all this stuff. Wolf fell right on his face. I mean, that's another player that you drafted and certainly didn't develop.
And he's not
So
exactly coming along in
I
Dallas
do,
either.
yeah. Well, that is certainly true, but I definitely agree with the grade for drafting and development from the fans. It hasn't been good. The Rangers haven't got a homegrown guy that has come in and kind of just lived up to expectations even more. So I agree with that. Everything else I think is pretty fair. If you want to throw that up there again, so
Yeah, right here.
Drury's grade for free agency. Last year he signed all those. Mid guys. You had Bonino, you had Pitlick, a couple of the journeymen that he signed. It wasn't
Gustafson.
really. Yeah, Trocheck was obviously the great signing, but and
That
then
was 2
this
years ago.
offseason, yes, and then this offseason, his free agency, was nothing to really write home about at all. The one move, Riley Smith, that was a trade. Other than that, he didn't do much at all in free agency. So, uh, again, fan base grade for free agency C plus. I think I agree with that one. Um, Trading, trading, I think I'm on board with a B. Patrick Kane, he got for, basically nothing. Tarasenko, uh, basically nothing. Drury hasn't traded away any prospects that have bloomed into anything in trade. So, I don't think you could really argue is trading. If you do want to talk about the Buchnevich for Sammy Blay trade, that one in retrospect, uh, bad. But I would say aside from that trade, I would say Drury has done a pretty good job with trading.
I agree with you. Drury's done a very good job with trading for the most part. He refuses he has his things that he doesn't want to give up, and he doesn't give them up. Last trade deadline, not this one, obviously. He traded for Patrick Kane, and as David's saying right here, even a big prospect, Brendan Ottman's future doesn't seem as bright as it was 2 years later when the year they drafted him. Actually, no, the year they drafted him, and Phil will say it as well. He looked good to okay. He didn't look like a future star. Then the year after they drafted him, he looked like he was going to be a future star, but he's not ready either.
Adding on
And
to
as
that.
Christie's saying right there, yeah, look, Rangers development has got things they got to answer. And the first thing they have to answer is, does that go into what number one is over here, roster building? And their roster construction was done basically long before Chris Drury took the helm, because basically you swap out Vinny Trocheck for Ryan Strome. There you go. And then you have a first overall pick and a second overall pick. You can't seem to find time to develop them. Lafreniere broke out. Now, Anthony, everybody's been talking about this over and over and over again, all over Twitter and Instagram, wherever you can find them. And they all say, oh, Lafreniere, 40 goals and 50 assists a year. He'll break 80 points. I hope you're a little bit pixelated for me right now, Anthony. I hope you're smiling in that, because there's no way that Alexei Lafreniere is going to get those numbers as a person on power play 2 that plays maybe 30 seconds of power play time per power play if he's lucky. So as even strength, look, he took a huge step in that last year. He looked great in the playoffs. As far as the other stuff goes, Philip Hedl, he's kind of stalled out. Kapokako, did he already reach his ceiling? What's going on with him? Keandre Miller, you can ask questions about. So I'm with you on a lot of the drafting, and especially the development. Maybe they're choosing the right players, they're not developing them right. They got to figure that one out. And of course, trading when you can't get rid of Jacob Trouba because he stonewalls you. Really, Drury just kind of played the hand he was dealt. That was about it. So I'm on board with Drury having a fairer grade. He did win the President's Trophy. So look, that can get him to 17. They were 6 wins away from a Stanley Cup. Now, that's a long ways. You need to win those 2 to get in, and then we'll discuss the rest. But I think it's a fairer grade than what he got last year when he was 30th. And I think Lou's right there too. Lou deserves a better grade as well. Probably a little bit higher, definitely higher than 32. So Anthony, you read the article. Did any GM stand out too high?
I mean, not particularly, honestly. I didn't really disagree with much of it. To be totally honest with you, I thought a lot of it was what I kind of expected as I was going through it. I thought Dubas being as low as he was for Pittsburgh was interesting because clearly he's only been there for 1 year now, so a lot of the stuff there isn't particularly on him. But other than that, I didn't really see too many gripes in there that I was like, oh wow, well that's completely wrong.
I got to tell you, the one that comes up too high, and it's not sour grapes, Anthony. It's Montreal Canadiens, led by Jeff Gorton and the GM Hughes. They're too high. They're at 6. They had all A minuses basically from the fan base. Everybody in Montreal should be excited. But again, there was an old expression a friend of mine used to say to me, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect because a pitcher could blow out his arm any moment. All the prospects got to come in and they got to hit. Because after all, Jeff Gorton was in a similar situation back in 2019. You're looking at it going, oh my goodness, the Rangers just got Capo Caco. They got Vitaly Kravtsov. You got Nils Lundqvist, who you mentioned. Let me know when I get to somebody that hits. You got all these players you're looking over going, oh, thank God they got these guys. Matthew Robertson. No, you know what? They got to come up. They got to play. They got to hit. Because the jury's still out on, say, Braden Schneider, whom was drafted when that was actually, I think the first one. No, that was still under Gorton. So sorry about that, everybody. But that's one of those that I can't help but look at and go, you know what? Get your guys here. We'll figure it out from there. Was there a grade that was a little bit too low for your opinion?
Yeah, I thought Kyle Dubas was a little too low because he's just been in Pittsburgh for 1 year. I mean, a lot of the stuff that he's going through in the Penguins organization, is from the prior regime and Ron Hextall. So,
Yeah.
And I'm not, I'm a guy that listen. I've called out Kyle Dubas where I handled everything in Toronto, but I felt the Penguins being as low as they were wasn't necessarily fair because he's really only. And again, I know this rating, as I said at the beginning, was not necessarily on the GM managers, the whole kind of front office staff, but he's the head of it, and I just thought he hasn't really had enough time there to put his stamp on the team. So that was just my kind of take on it when I saw that. But although I will say, I mean, I still don't get him trading for Erik Karlsson. I mean, that you kind of saw that the Penguins are on the downturn. But then again, when you have stars in Crosby, Malkin, Letang, I guess he felt that he needed to do anything he could to try to give them one last kick at the can.
Well, they got the one last kick at the can, and I'm still seeing that they're still trying to think that they're gonna be a playoff team this year. I don't see it. There's no way that I see it this year. And then if you go with the totality again of the last few years, re-signing Tristan Jarry was a mistake as well. That was a marriage that was that was a relationship you had to end, and then they're just like, hey, why don't we get married instead? I guess one of the ones that I was surprised about is Steve Yzerman being as low as he is, and he's very low. And there's a lot of the fan confidence wavering on that one. Even though they still had a lot of C's and B's, a D in free agency for Yzerman. I know he's got cap space, but this team is still developing. He hasn't been able to address the goaltender position. That has been a problem. And it's just one of those things that I think with Yzerman, you still have to have the faith in him because he was not dealing with much. That was right there. That was
yeah, no, for sure.
But Bill, how we doing today?
Crazy,
to say the least. Anthony, I interrupted your thought. You were saying about that?
I was just gonna say, I think with the Red Wings, when it comes to them, I just think their fans, they haven't made the playoffs in a little while now, and I think they want to see that progress, and they're tired of hearing like every year, oh, this is the year the Red Wings are going to sneak in. This is the year the Red Wings are going to sneak in, and then they don't. So rightly or wrongly, that gets held against Steve Yzerman, and then when you make some kind of questionable signings that kind of like make you scratch your head, with a lot of term to a guy like JT Compher, or you trade Jake Wallman and you give up a second round pick just to move him on a fairly young D-man who had a good year last year. Again, it's like why? So I get it. I get it with Detroit. It's the same reason I feel like Senator fans and Sabre fans feel about their team. It's always, we're going to take the next step. We're going to take the next step. And then they don't. And then you see why, some of these teams don't have any faith in their respective front offices.
Sadly, they probably would have made the playoffs if John Tortorella knew what the score was. That's the saddest part about that one.
Yeah.
Phil, in the Athletic article, we're going to get your opinion on the rest of it, but in the Athletic article, was there a GM that you were like, really that low?
I didn't get to read all of it.
Okay. But let's go back to this one. One more. Actually, let's get your thoughts on this first, Phil. Let's go with the Islanders first. They're ranked 32nd. Is it too low, or is it just what reality is?
I don't know. I mean, it feels like it's low, but I mean, at the same time, I don't think Lou Lamoriello does enough. Like, I've heard people talk about Anthony Duclair. Is that really a needle mover? I mean, they've needed a top line sniper for 15 years now. I mean, since I mean, my uncle has been talking about this literally for 15 years. They needed somebody to play with Tavares, like an actual goal scorer that could play with him. And they tried out. Poso wasn't really guy. Vanek they brought in. He was really kind of tailing off by the time they brought him in, I should say. And then they haven't really gotten anybody that's really been that level of scorer. Like Bo Horvat had that crazy run in Vancouver where he was shooting at an unsustainably high shooting percentage. And obviously he's come back down to earth since. Is he a good player? Yeah, but they still need a top line scorer. They've needed a sniper. They needed help in other areas. I mean, I don't know if I would have him at 32nd, but I don't think he's done a great job. I really don't. I don't think. I mean, I remember Anthony ripped him a new one, 2 years ago, because he did literally nothing to to help kind of improve the team. I don't see what he's really done to improve this team. And I mean, if you're going to talk about Siplikov, okay, he's a complete wild card. We don't know what he's going to be. If you're penciling him in to be a top 6 scorer, you got to remember Nikita Gusev was a far better player in the KHL than Siplikov was. And yeah, Siplikov's game may end up translating better than Gusev's did, albeit in probably a lesser role than anything. But I mean, that's not somebody that you're gonna act like he's Kaprizov and he's coming over here. He's the best player in the world outside of the NHL, bar none. Like that he has the potential to be a low risk, medium reward type player, and I think it's pretty fair in saying that. That's not a slam at him. I don't see him as being one of those elite players in the KHL, like one of those guys where you were just like, okay, it was like Tarasenko or Kuznetsov or Gusev or Panarin, somebody that was putting up crazy numbers in the KHL before coming over. So for me, Lamoriello hasn't done enough.
By the way, one question, Phil. You were mentioning Horvat. Horvat had 33 goals last year. That's actually down 5, I think, from the year
before.
And it's 8 points down the shooting percentage. So, I mean, he's at least producing.
I mean, yeah, it's still, again, good player, but it hasn't answered an age-old question, which is who is going to be that top-level goal scorer? Like, we're talking, the Islanders have not had a 40-goal scorer since Anders Lee in 2018 or 2017. And when was the last 40-goal scorer they had before that?
Jason Blake.
Yeah, 2007, 2006, 2007. Yeah. So again, I'm talking about like, and Jason Blake, that was just a fluke year. No disrespect to Jason Blake, but none of his other years ever came close to that. We're talking about a legitimate, established top line sniper that can produce 40 plus, maybe even 50 goals. Where is that?
Are you saying that they haven't had that since Zygmunt Palffy?
Yeah, basically.
Anthony,
but he had back 40-goal seasons, and he's the last Islander to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where's the production? And the Islanders' problem over the last few years has been scoring. It's been scoring. Ever since Trotz took over, they have had problems scoring. And Lamoriello has had, 6 years? Yes, 6 years now, going on 7 to address this, and hasn't done anything to address it.
Well, he's tried to.
I'm not disagreeing with anything Phil's saying. It's true. But regarding Horvat, what I'll say is I think we're all in agreement here. 33 goals is at least in the shouting distance of 40. So basically, I agree. In a perfect world, you want to get a guy that's scoring 45, 50 goals on that top line. But those are hard to come by. So like I feel like Bo Horvat is a good realistic get for him. So I get what Phil's saying, but it's again it's hard for him. It's hard to trade for that guy that is going to be that Ziggy Palffy type player. So if Bo Horvat is the best that he can get, and he plays with Matt Barzal and scores 35 goals, then it is what it is. It's better than the years prior where they had, like he was saying, Kyle Oposo or Matt Molson on the top line.
And adding on to this, we talked about this numerous times. Horvat was that big signing that the Islanders, he was basically a midseason free agent because they traded for him, and then he signed an 8-year deal right away.
I get it, but two things. One, if that's your get, how much is that an upgrade over your best goal scorer in Brock Nelson? Like, that's marginal at best, if it is an upgrade, because Nelson's been putting up better numbers than that. Two, I mean, no disrespect to Horvat, who I think is a good, legitimate top 6 forward, but look at the scoring these days. Look at how much it's gone up in the last 10 or so years. Now you have guys that are scoring 50, 60 left and right. The bar's been raised. So the Islanders have to do something to meet that bar, and they haven't. They simply just don't have that right now, and that's why they've had trouble getting past a team like Carolina in the playoffs, because they don't have that scoring. They just don't. They have one of the best goaltenders in the world. I'm not a believer that Ilya Sorokin is cooked or he's mentally messed up or something like that. I've seen he's got too much of a pedigree, and I've seen Igor Shesterkin go through what needed to be a mental reset and got himself right back up to being probably the best goaltender in the world. I mean, he showed it the rest of the season last year and in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about Ilya Sorokin. I still think he's one of the very best. He's elite. But the defense needs a little bit of help. which I think you would agree with. And
Yes.
their scoring just needs to be better. You're not going to win if you can't score. Look at the Rangers. They got shut down by Florida. Their best guys were not good. Panarin was okay. But for a 120-point guy, what did he do against Florida? Nothing except for one goal in an elimination game when they were pretty much already dead.
Oh,
so, I mean, like, really, like, your best guys have got to be your best guys. The Islanders' best guys aren't on that level. Like, they need to get to that next level talent-wise in order to make that next step.
All right. And Phil, really quick, let's try to do it under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Rangers at number 17? Fair enough grade or not harsh enough?
I guess fair. I mean, I'm not enamored with Chris Drury. I mean, the whole Truba snafu that's just something that I don't even know where to start with that. There's a lot of blame to throw around there. Again, he inherited a mess from Gorton. Gorton gave him that stupid contract, but he didn't have a whole lot he could do. I mean, he brought in, Sam Carrick, which was a decent signing. He'll give you what Goodrow can give you, and he'll do it for a third of the price. Actually, even more than a third. He'll do it for $1 million as opposed to 3.6. Riley Smith, with salary retained, was a decent move. I mean, he could fit in any of the top 9 roles. Let's just say Capo Caco finds that oomph that he needs to get to that next level and starts to break out. Riley Smith could go down to line 3. You could keep that second line, even though they're really the best line, together with Panarin, Lafreniere, and Trocheck. And I guess, I mean, I get why people are unsatisfied with him. They're not happy. But I also think it's like a middle of a pack type thing right now. So, I mean, I'm not really opposed to 17.
All right. And guys, one more question for you. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Out of all the GMs that are on the list, however you rank them in any way, which GMs, to use the line from Django, has your curiosity?
What do you mean curiosity is in how?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused.
You gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. Like which one are you kind of looking at that? Which GM has got your attention?
In what regard, though? Like,
what do you
like? All right, so I know Mark loves Tombstone, and he loves to be like Doc Holliday and Val Kilmer, and I'll be your Huckleberry. Why don't you be all Huckleberry and actually explain this a little better for us?
Which GM are you watching closely?
Are we talking full season deadline?
Full season, what their next move is? There's lots of GMs. All right, I'll start it off. You know what? I like what Mike Greer did starting from the draft. This guy was getting lambasted by a lot of people in the San Jose fan base. Now I'm looking at them and going, they could be a year or two away from starting to really get out of this hole that they're in. And they were in a hole. Wilson put him in a hole. That's just where I think about him. So, Anthony, you got a guy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Steve Stamkos with the Senators. I think I talked about it before. The Red Wings, Sabres, Ottawa, they're like the 3 teams in the East every year. The media talks about it. They're going to take the next step and get into the playoffs. And you hear Ottawa, this young core, and Brady Tkachuk and Stutzla, Batherson, Sanderson, Shabbat, all these guys, and they, veteran like Giroux leading the way, and they failed to get the job done. And this year, Stamkos did make some moves. He traded Chychrun, he acquired Linus Ullmark, so he certainly made some moves. But I'm watching him and the Senators because if come trade deadline time, and it looks like the Senators are going to miss the playoffs once again with all the young talent that they have. I feel like he's going to have to do something to change course. I alluded to, in my opinion, if the Senators don't take the next step and make the playoffs, Brady Tkachuk is going to do what Matt did and say, I had enough. I want out. Trade me to an American market where I can win. And I think that's where it's headed if the Senators fail to take the next step. So I'm curious to see what moves he makes to show him that he's serious about getting this team in the playoffs and being a team that gets in every year. So yeah, I think they have the pieces in place. Curious to see where it goes next.
Phil, who do you think?
I got a few different GMs for a few different reasons. I'll cut it to 3, and I'll try to make this very quick. First, Anthony was talking about teams that are on the cusp. They're going to go on and take that next step, and they end up not taking it. I mean, you forgot another team, Buffalo, Kevin Adams. Kevin Adams is probably going to end up being on the hot seat if this team doesn't make the playoffs, and he might end up losing his job if they don't make it this year. I know that Pagulas really stood behind him during the whole Jack Eichel thing, and it looks like they came out with nothing out of that trade because Krebs really hasn't been anything special. Tuck has been good, but Tuck, I know that he wants to be there, but I feel like he's going to end up out of there sooner than later, especially if they don't win. The other one that the number 2, I would say, would be Bowman in Edmonton. He is going to have a lot of heat on him. A lot of heat. And not only for other reasons that have been well chronicled, I'm not going to get into those. He's going to the Stanley Cup runner-up, going to the Western Conference winner. And now he has to do the moves were already made beforehand for the offseason, but now it's going to be very interesting to watch them come deadline time and the moves that he's able to make at the deadline to see if he can get this team over the hump and win the Stanley Cup, because he's got 2 guys that are coming up on contracts in back-to-back years, back-to-back off seasons. And they either need to win this year or both of those guys could end up leaving in successive years. And that would be a massive, massive, devastating outcome for Edmonton. And the other one is Chris Drury with the Rangers. Another one. It's going to be real interesting to watch him come trade deadline. And even though other writers have said this already, but my gut feeling as well is that Chris Drury is going to be very aggressive on deadline time. I mean, there might be prospects that people don't want to see moved that might end up being moved by deadline time, like Brennan Oppen, like a Brett Berard. I don't think Gabe Perreault is going anywhere, but I think everyone else is fair game.
All right.
It's interesting. It's interesting he said that about Drury, because in one of I think Staple did a mailbag recently for the Rangers, and he answered some questions, and he talked about kind of some future Drury moves, and he pointed out that the Rangers, like this year, they don't have a second, a third, a fourth. Next year, they don't have a second. Year after that, they don't have a second. So he was kind of saying, like, you might start to see Drury trade some prospects now, being that they're out of some draft cap. Yeah, they do have their first the next 3 years, but he was kind of alluding to the fact that, without having some second and third round picks, it's hard to trade for that kind of mid-tier guy, and you're left with dealing prospects instead. So,
and you also have to wonder what happens with Capo Caco.
Yeah, he's going to fetch back some assets. That's like the one good thing to say about Caco, but it's and as Anthony just said,
assets,
some assets. He'll bring us something. It's not. You're not going to get him for a bag of pucks, guys. The guy's still. A lot of people are still going to attach that number 2 draft overall thing on there. Like the fans are going to look at it and go, "Oh, we shouldn't get back anything." The writers do say something different, though. All right, quick read for you guys, because if you're thinking about going into therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp with a /THPN today. Get 10% off your first order. Heck, I thought about getting it years ago. I did not, and things kind of turned around a little bit for me. So give that a try. We're gonna jump in. We're gonna do bar talk, but first we gotta get a quick message from DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. And we did cover some of these in the A block, but we're going to repeat them all over again. As play along in the comments. You're so confident that you're buying everybody around, so have a beer. Or, oh, dear God, I need a shot. So we are starting off with the Islanders. And, Anthony, we're starting with what Phil brought up when he was talking about Ilya Sorokin. The first few years as a starter, .924 save percentage. He's only second to Linus Ullmark among the goalies that are really the starters. .234 goals against average. Last year, down year for him. We know there were a lot of problems in a lot of other areas. But next year, Ilya Sorokin will return to top 5 in save percentage and goals against.
Yeah, so prior to this year, 2 years in a row, I think he was second and fourth in save percentage. I'm going around here. I think he's going to be in the top 5 in save percentage again. Goals against, maybe not top 5. The team the Islanders are right now, but maybe around 8th or so in the goals against category. But I absolutely think save percentage, you're going to see him post his typical numbers, and he's going to rebound.
Phil, what do you think?
When I look at the goaltenders in the league, and I think of the elite of the elite, I think of Shesterkin, Hellebuck, I think of Ottinger. I mean, goalies that I know that will consistently win games and be near the top, and I can count on them. Sorokin's one of them for me. I'm gonna have to go around here. I just think he's too good to not bounce back. I was considering Beer just because there are some very good goaltenders that could probably fight for those spots. I mean, you never know with Bobrovsky. He reminds me of Alexei Kovalov, who I used to call leap year, because he would come around every other year, and every other year you would get either a great season from him, or he'd be like, I'm just going to loaf around and just do my thing. So Bobrovsky, he could be top 5, but he could also kind of meh, and then come back to life in the postseason again. But I'm going to go around here.
I got to make it a clean sweep, guys, and make it a hat trick. Go round on it for us all, because this is a guy that he was just so technically sound his first couple years, and with the breakdowns last year with the Islanders on defense, it just he was trying to do too much all the time. Still a 909 save percentage for a guy that had over 3 goals against. That tells me that the problems were more in the shots that were getting through and that it was on the team defense more than it was on him. I can't tell you how I've been to a few Islander games last year. There was still a chance of Ilya all the time because he was making these great saves. He was making great save after great save. And then, sometimes it happens. The other thing I can't help but point out, even though I'm not sure what his impact is on goaltenders, although we've seen it on Semyon Varlamov, you got Patrick Waugh. Waugh was probably the greatest technical goaltender of all time. And he just always had his angles, and he just had that brashness too about him. Maybe that rubs off on Sorokin as well. But I still don't like the way the Sorokin treatment was happening in the playoffs. And he got half a playoff game and they pulled him. So we'll see about that. Going over to the Rangers, by the way, guys, if you haven't checked it out, check out my class of 2025 free agents. I don't think they're likely all going to be free agents. Obviously, we've been talking about some of them, but that could be the craziest free agent draft class ever. But two stories do come out of this.
Not just free agent class, not draft class.
Yeah. The free agents. I didn't want to do the class. All right. Contract talks have begun with the Oilers and Leon Draisaitl, and Igor Shesterkin is entering the final year of his deal. Phil, Igor Shesterkin is more valuable at $12 million than Leon Draisaitl is re-signed at 14. This question was asked to me. I figured pass it on.
I'm going to say shot. The reason is that I just don't think that a $12 million contract is, in terms of an AAV, is not realistic at all. I don't think it's something that any team is willing to go to be quite honest with you. I mean, I would hope it's under 10 for an AAV for Igor, but something tells me it could end up being around 10 and a half. Again, like I said, I think it was last week or the week before. A record deal could also just be 10.6.
Mm-hmm.
It could be $2 more on the AAV than what Carey Price and Sergei Bobrovsky made, and it would be a record. So he may not be looking for 12. He may just be looking to have the highest AAV ever. But Leon Draisaitl at $14 million is going to play every game, every night, or at least as close to it, provided he's not hurt. And he's going to score 50 goals and 110 plus points. So I've got to give the $14 million to Draisaitl before I give the 12 to Igor. Oh, and Draisaitl is also an MVP winner. So that's big.
Anthony, which do you think is more valuable?
Yeah, I agree with Phil here. This is a shot. I mean, Draisaitl, as he said, he's going to play every single night. He's going to be a 110, 120 point player, one of the best in the world. And I don't think you should ever pay a goalie $12 million, no matter how good they are. So this is a easy shot for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's an easy shot too, guys. And you guys outlined everything. You got the guy that's going to play 80, 82 games versus the guy that's going to play 55 to 60 if he's lucky. We're in the age of tandems still right now, guys. And I also don't think that's a good thing. I don't think goalies are conditioned for the playoffs. And I think that's why you're seeing a little bit more goalies wear down later on in the year. I mean, granted, we're growing up. We had Grant Fuhr, well, especially for me, Grant Fuhr, 74 79 games in a row. Thank you, 73. I mean, the only reason why he was out of there with the Blues is because he injured his knee. But Henrik Lundqvist starting well over 65, Brodeur over 70. Like, yeah, you kind of want the goalies that are going to be in there for more time. Then I might be able to say that. But guys, also going with That's the rest of the story. Leon Draisaitl has begun contract talks with the Edmonton Oilers. Anthony, Leon Draisaitl will be an Oiler opening night of 2025.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say round. I mean, I don't think the Oilers could realistically let this guy go. I mean, it's just you can't. I mean, I also believe that him and McDavid are really close. They're really tight. Yeah, they want to win, but I think they also take pride in trying to get it done in Edmonton together. Um, and I think the Oilers, Stan Bowman, are going to open a blank check to this guy, and basically say, "You want to be the highest paid player in the league until McDavid, the following year? No problem. They'll write the check." Um, so unless it legitimately came down to that Draisaitl just hates playing in Edmonton, which I highly doubt, I don't see why, as actually State of Survival just said, I don't see why he'd leave. He's playing with Connor McDavid. He's going to get paid a shit ton of money. I just don't see him going unless something went really, really horribly wrong.
Phil, what do you think?
I'm going to say Beer. I don't think there's zero possibility that he leaves. I don't necessarily see it happening. I do think that if they don't sign him before the playoffs end and they lose again, and let's just say they disappoint, that would increase the chance of him leaving. Because I also don't know how they're going to be able to keep a team running the way that they have it as constructed with McDavid and Draisaitl probably getting somewhere close to $30 million of the cap. Like, that's insane. That's just insane. I don't know how you're going to do that. I mean, even with a cap going up to 90, that gives you 60 million to build out the rest of your roster. And that sounds like a nice number on the surface, but when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's not nearly enough to build to give out 18 other roster spots, 19 other roster spots that you need to take care of. Yeah,
Evan Bouchard's probably at 9 himself.
What's that?
I said Evan Bouchard's probably going to get at 9 million himself too.
I don't know how you. And then you got to think about him. I mean, he's probably going to get somewhere close to Cale Makar, Adam Fox territory, because he was a point per game defenseman. They're not going to. I don't see him taking a discount, especially after the season he just had. So, yeah, I think he will be. For Edmonton's sake, they better hope that they can get him somewhere between 11 and 12 and keep McDavid to maybe like 13 for their sake.
I'm going to go Beer on this one as well. And part of it has to do with everything you just outlined, everything everybody just outlined, that they just made the finals. The State of Survival said, why would you leave? Well, is that a Cinderella run, or are they going to be a force to be reckoned with next year and the year after that and the year after that? Here's one thing I do know for you. Leon Draisaitl has drastically been underpaid. He signed that contract. Edmonton got so much money and so much value out of that deal. Time to pay up. And that's what'll happen. Now, is he, and he might be tight with Connor, but is he still comfortable living in Connor's shadow? Connor hasn't re-signed long-term. So that's going to affect what Connor's going to get. Because let's say you go Draisaitl up to 15 million, and then Connor's going to go to 16 million. Like the numbers just keep getting higher.
That's not happening.
And they haven't won a cup yet. I know you want to say, oh, there were basically 2 goals from the Stanley Cup, but it starts to worry you. Stan Bowman's got his work cut out for him on this one. I don't know where it goes, guys, because this is the number one free agent that I look at and go, he could stay, he can go, and he's going to get paid no matter what.
I think
Guys,
the question really you have to ask is who would be crazy enough to give him 14.5 to 15 million? Because if you could find that team and he gets the free agency, maybe he's gone.
if the New York Rangers, or you know what, never mind the New York Rangers, that any team would probably throw their, except for say Austin Matthews, Nate McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, but most teams they would take Leon Draisaitl in a heartbeat and probably shoot their own guy.
You would have to be stupid to not take Leon Draisaitl on your team. If you could afford it cap-wise and you didn't want to take him, then you should be fired as a GM because that's the number 2 or number 3 best player in the world. And if you want to argue Kucherov and say him at 3 and Draisaitl 4, okay, have fun. Draisaitl's a top 4 player. End of story.
Guys, the New Jersey Devils last 3 years, 805 goals. They were 22nd in the NHL, 281 goals allowed last season. And then they went out, they got Brett Pesce, they got Brendan Dillon, and they traded for Jacob Markstrom. Phil, the Devils will be a top 10 defensive team this year under Sheldon Keefe.
There you go, Beer. Those teams in Toronto were pretty good defensively. Mitch Marner is an underrated defensive player. He's better than people give him credit for. I'm surprised he hasn't finished higher in Selke voting. But then again, Selke voting is not kind to wingers. The last winger to win it, Yuri Letnin, and he won 3. Yeah. So that just goes to show you how good you have to be as a winger to win the Selke. It depends on Hamilton, really. Does he stay healthy? Markstrom will have something to do with this. What Markstrom are we getting? Are we getting the Markstrom from last year? Are we getting the Markstrom from the year before? Are we getting the Markstrom from 2021-22 that was up for a Vezina? What Markstrom are we getting? How does Luke Hughes progress? Simone Nemec? They've got some real wild cards on that back end. So then again, top 10 defensive team doesn't just mean their defensive unit, like their corpse. It means the whole team in total. So, I mean, we're talking about the forward play too. Andre Palat's a good defensive player. Nico Hischier is a very good defensive player. Eric Hall is okay. They have some good defensive forwards up front. Some of the others lack a little bit. But overall, this is a real wild card team. I'm just going to say Beer. It's possible, but I don't know if I truly believe top 10. I think they'll be much improved.
Anthony?
Yeah, it's a Beer here. And I was going to say exactly what Phil said. What Markstrom are you getting? The Markstrom from the last 2 years where he's at, 905, and then the year before he was actually sub 9. Or do you get the Markstrom that almost won a Vezina? So I think that's going to play a huge role in it. And then also, how well can Brett Pesce and Dillon kind of, gel there with the rest of that defensive group. So I think they're going to be a much better team overall, just across the board. And they are going to be better defensively too. But top 10, in my opinion, really, a lot of it lays on Wallstrom's plate. So, Markstrom. I'll say Beer here.
I'm going to say first and foremost, relies on the trainer. The Devils need to have a healthy team, and that's where kind of part of that problem's been a little bit. You get some time where the Hischier misses time during the year, Hughes misses time during the year, and Hamilton has been missing a lot of time with New Jersey. I gotta think that if the Devils are healthy, that'll settle one thing. I'm gonna go shot on this. I don't think the Devils are gonna be able to do it, and they do have 2 really good defensive center players. I mean, they got the guy that I thought was gonna win the Selke for the first time last year in Nico Hischier, but that's in my preseason predictions, guys. But and Brat's a good player all around. I don't know if what they're getting out of their defense and Markstrom. And everybody's got to be seamless in their transition. And the last one we got today, because it's a pretty light day as far as bar talk goes, guys. Anthony, Connor McDavid, his rookie year, 48 points in 45 games. Sidney Crosby, 102 points, not 200, 102 points in 81 games. And Connor Bedard, 61 points in 68 games. Connor Bedard is going to crack 87 points next season.
What's with the just the 87 number?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the arbitrary 87 about, my man?
I didn't want to do 85.
Are you making a play on like Sidney Crosby's number here?
No, but I didn't want to do 85 because I wanted to be over a point per game.
What are you a Bauer hockey stick flex rating instead of 85? You have to go 87. Like,
87
what's that about?
Good point.
Oh,
instead of 100 flex, 102 flex.
Yeah. 87. I mean, he had 61. Blackhawks improved. I mean, they did add some more players around him. You know what? I'll go beer. I think he surpasses 75 into the 80s. Not sure about approaching 90, 87, 88. I mean, if you would have said 85, maybe I would have said round. No, but all seriousness, I'll go beer. I'll go beer. Mark left in shame.
I just had to
I'm
come
guessing
on
that's
that.
my cue to go then. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't see this happening. I don't. Connor Bedard is just one of those guys that he's a great one for a reason, and those guys always find ways to improve. Like Sidney Crosby, like for years, people were talking about like how great of a player he was offensively right off the bat, 102 points in his rookie year, and then people were wondering how can Sidney Crosby improve? Well, Sidney Crosby went and improved his defensive game. He improved his balance, his getting knocked off the puck. He improved on faceoffs, batting pucks out of the air, tip-ins, deflections, stuff like that. He started, improving on. I think Connor Bedard's going to be in that same type of caliber in terms of, his ability to find something to improve on and catapult himself higher to that next level of player. I'm going to go beer just because I don't know if it's 87, but I think he's cracking 80 for sure. I mean, looking at Chicago's team, they brought in, Taylor Hall's still there. Taylor Hall's being healthy. That'll go a long way. You brought in Bertuzzi. You brought in Teravainen. Dickinson didn't leave. They brought in Ilya Mikheyev. Philip Kurashev's still there. Lucas Reichel, I think, is going to take a next step forward. I think that's someone that nobody's talking about in terms of breakout potential. I think that he's gonna have a nice year himself. I think Bedard's going to score somewhere around 85 points, maybe 80 to 85. I think that you're looking at for Bedard next year.
I actually think him missing time last year might have actually helped him a little bit because film can only do so much, and he's got just such a great wrist shot that I wonder how many defensemen are going to be completely surprised by him on that. I just don't like that the Blackhawks really didn't add too much to help him. So what do they really do to help?
So you bring in Bertuzzi, you bring in Teravainen. Like, you do realize the caliber of players you're bringing in right there with those two, right? And you brought in Mikheyev on top of that. And Mikheyev can be anywhere in your top nine. That's a guy that can be anywhere in your top nine. 21-22, he had 21 goals and 32 points. He had 31 points last year. I mean, that's a guy that can play up and down your top nine. Vancouver used him up and down their top nine.
They brought in Teravainen. They didn't bring in Jake Gensel. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at it.
We do agree that Bedard's one of the best shooters in the league, right?
Yes.
What do you do to help out a shooter?
I guess you get guys to get him the puck.
Teravainen can get him the puck. Teravainen's pretty good at that.
All right.
I mean, yeah. They said they didn't bring in. They didn't bring in Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi are legitimate. Especially Teravainen, top 6 players. Like, how do you say they didn't bring in? I don't understand that one, Mark.
Top 6, but are they really like first line guys with him?
Teravainen had 76 points in 2018-19 with Carolina. Yes, he's cracked only 60 once, and that was a couple years back. He was hurt in 2023. He had 53 points last year. Teravainen, with less responsibilities, and he's actually a halfway decent defensive player as well.
Mm-hmm.
With less defensive responsibilities and the ability to just go out there and play with a talent like that, could end up getting back to a 70-point player or more.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just not wowed by it, guys. That's all.
All right. So, but look at the roster last year. Who was the one guy that you could point to that could help him out last year?
Taylor Hall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you have Hall. Now you have Bertuzzi. Now you have Teravainen. Now you have Mikheyev.
Mm-hmm.
You have a Lucas Reichel that's going to be a year older and more experienced. I mean, they've got options around him now, like much more than they had last year when we were talking about in the dead of I think the end of July or August, when they were signing Nick Foligno and Corey Perry to $4 million a year deals. We were like, hey, there's their cap floor moves. No, they didn't make cap floor moves this year. They brought in legitimate talents to try to help Bedard.
All right. Well, fair enough, guys. That's why we do this. Oh, you want to do a Puckdoku, Anthony? All right.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick
Actually,
one.
so I forget who it was, but someone last week in the comments said, "Let's play Puckdoku," and then never did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not?
Yeah, Kurashev. 54 points last year from Kurashev. I think this guy may have arrived.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. That'll help out Bedard, and he's going to need it.
They've got options, man. They have options. I know it's not the sexy looking Jake Gensel signing, but I don't think Jake Gensel was ever going there. Ooh. Carolina and Rangers. Rangers 40 points, 40 assists. Let's see.
I didn't look at this yet today too, so that makes this even better because it's fresh.
Rangers 40 assists. I could give you a few guys right off the top of my head. You go Mike Rogers. I believe Mike Ridley is one. You could go James Patrick. You could go Reichel Ruotsalainen. You can go Ron Breshner for 40 assists, 40 points, same thing. 40 points. You could go Peter Pruka.
I do like Peter Pruka. I do like I kind of like James Patrick for the 40 points.
I like James Patrick for 40 assists.
All right, we'll go with James Patrick right there. 0.6. There we go.
I would say the 40 points. I would say Peter Pruka could be a good one.
How about Jan Hlavich?
Jan Hlavich would be a very good one, actually, and that's probably going to be I would go that one. 2000 and 2001.
Jan Hlavich, 0.5. Okay. So Rangers and Carolina, do we want to go Pat Verbeek?
You go because that's going to be too obvious. No. I think
if you did, I was going to say Jason Muzzatti. Jason
Muzzatti would be one, but I think Stephen Rice actually might be. If I'm correct, it's Stephen Rice.
Despite everybody knowing this, so we're going to go Stephen Rice on this one. Although I do like Jason Muzzatti.
Yeah, Stephen Rice. Well. Yeah, I will have to make sure it was Stephen Rice or Stephen King. Sorry.
Okay, you guys ready?
Stephen Rice.
0.4%. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So Flyers, Whalers. Mark, Flyers, Whalers do our favorite Constantine Crossman.
Yeah, Crossman would play for both of them. Yeah.
Which, by the way, Anthony,
is that 0.2?
That is a 0.3 for Crossman.
0.3. All right. Yeah. Sorry. It's very, very small.
I'll try to make sure I announce them because the audio people have to hear it too. So
Yeah,
40 points for the Flyers.
40 points for the Flyers.
Anthony, how about one of your favorites, Trent Klatt?
Brent Fedek.
Brent Fedek? Anthony?
Yeah, I'm fine. Brent Fedek. I don't use Trent Klatt.
No, I thought you used Trent Klatt a good amount.
Maybe before, but I don't. Nothing to
What
the
does that
point where.
say?
What is
Point
that?
3.
0.3?
0.3 Brent. Yeah, because Brent Fedek was the crazy eights line in 92, 93, and 93, 94 with Lindros and Recchi. Philly 40 assists.
Janne Ninema had 40 assists for the Flyers in his rookie year.
Did Gary Galley crack 40 assists on D with them?
Kim Janssen did not crack 40.
I said
40.
Janne Ninema had 40 assists for the Flyers in his first ever year in the league in 96, 97.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, go Gary Galley. You know what? Now that I think about it, Gary Galley had a big year in 93 for them. He had a pretty big year. I think he cracked 40 that year.
I'm going to check both of these and see which one was better. Because we got...
I think Ninema is too obvious of a name.
And what was his rookie season? Gary Galley, 0.5. And...
Brian Propp would be too obvious, Romanello. It's a good answer, but Brian Propp would be way too obvious. That's a way too obvious one.
How'd you spell Yanni Ninema?
Niinima.
That's the reason why I didn't get it. All right. Anthony, yours would have been just as good to keep up that 0. We're going to go with Gary Galley. Yanni Ninema, 0.6. By the way, 0.6 on Yanni Ninema. All right, guys. So we got the Edmonton Oilers and Carolina/Hartford right here. 40 points for them. I don't believe Mike York scored 40 points, but I do believe Anson Carter did.
Did Stephen King play for them too? Well, Stephen Rice could have been used for that one too. But
Mike York had 51 points and 42 points for Edmonton.
Yeah, I don't think York had a 40 assist season in Edmonton. I think he fell just short in 03.
But he would still have the 40 points.
No, he didn't. Okay, no. It was a 40 assist season, but it was split between the Rangers and the Oilers in 02. New York, when he was dealt.
York 40-point season. He's a 0.3. I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
All right. So what else we got, guys? We got one who played with Carolina and the Whalers.
Oh, I thought you were doing 40 assists for York. Sorry.
No, just points.
Shit, my bad. 40 assists, Oilers. Did Mike Krushelnyski hit 40 assists? I'm pretty sure he did. Pretty sure he hit that with the Oilers. Yeah, he did.
Mike Krushelnyski?
Yeah, Krushelnyski.
Oh, good. I've been mispronouncing his name since NHL 92. There we go. Now we just need an Oiler and a Carolina Hurricane/Hartford Whaler. Warren Fogle would not be a good answer.
No, that's going to be too obvious because that's one of the most recent ones that we're going to remember.
Oilers, Whalers.
Gonna take the Puckdoku off of Phil's face, which I left on the announcer. Oilers and Whalers. Let's see. Not Berkey. Well, Doug Wade, obviously.
Actually, this is a real good one from Chris T. Radek Dvorak.
Yeah, Radek Dvorak. Actually, I looked him up today because I was seeing if Jacob Dvorak in the King system is his son, and the Wikipedia photo is Radek Dvorak in a Carolina Hurricanes jersey.
Yeah, Radek Dvorak is just under 1%, 0.9. So
Yeah,
you could
go with
use
Dvorak.
use
Yeah,
Radek Dvorak.
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
kept
one for
talking
Chris
about it.
Payne.
If there's a throwback Rangers jersey, I would want. There's a uniqueness, boys. If there's a
Let's
throwback
go,
Rangers
boys.
jersey, I would definitely want to go with Radek Dvorak.
Click the Mark. Click the Puckdoku pyramid.
Oh, Puckdoku Piran.
Top left. Yeah, there you go.
All right, play now.
I want to see what. I'm gonna try to do that too.
Hold on. So how I've never played this one. So how does this
basically
work?
all right? So Mark, I'll show him. Click. So the first one's simple. Just click it, Mark.
Okay, Calgary.
All right. So just someone played for the Flames, and same thing. You want to keep it
Joel Otto.
lesser.
Joel Otto.
All right.
Okay.
So now we're at a uniqueness of 1. All right. So click it.
Damn.
So now the next one. So now it needs to be a guy that played for the Flames and had, what does that say, Mark? A 20-goal season?
20-goal season, any team.
German Titoff.
Yeah. So we need to think of a guy that played for the Flames and had a 20-goal season for any team.
German Titoff is right there.
All right.
And now he's got to play for the Flames, the Canadians, and score 20 goals.
Yeah, so now I need to play for the Flames, Canadians, and the 20 goals.
Gary Lehman.
Go with yours because Mike Camilleri is too popular.
Yeah, that would have been
Gary Lehman. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh fuck.
All right, so now that went up to a 3% uniqueness. All right, so now this one, Flames, 20-goal season, Canadians, and 200 goals scored in his career.
All right, that's Camilleri. If anybody,
that's probably going to be a very popular answer. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, hold on! Don't select it just yet. Just give it a minute here.
All right, Tyler Toffoli.
That's going to be a popular one. Yeah.
What about Jonas Höglund? Did he not reach 200 goals?
I think he did. Oh God! Wow.
117.
No, 117. Are you? Wow.
Damn.
117.
No, Shane Corson never played for Calgary. Shane Corson never played for Calgary. He played for Edmonton. Camilleri is probably going to be pretty popular.
So Montreal, Calgary. Kelly Kissio never played for Montreal, right?
No, he played for Calgary. Russ Courtnall never played for Calgary. He played for Montreal, but I don't think he ever played for Calgary.
Fleury obviously never played. Them. What about Gary Roberts?
Gary Roberts never played for Montreal.
Yeah, Florida Panthers, not Montreal.
It's a tough one. Calgary and Montreal forward, likely a forward that would have scored that amount. Matt Nazzle never played for Calgary, right?
I don't believe so.
No, it was Montreal, and then he played, I think, 1 year in Boston. Yeah, he played 1 year in Boston years later in like the mid-90s.
I'm just for shits and giggles looking through the Atlanta days.
Dan Foos never played in Calgary. He played in Toronto for a bit in like the late 80s, early 90s before he went to Edmonton. Sean Monahan is going to be too popular.
Yeah. We're going to have to get the show on the road, guys. I got chicken burgers cooking that need to be cooked. Yeah, it's got to be Camilleri.
I don't think Brunet played for Calgary. I think I know he played for Dallas, but I don't think he played for Calgary. Nope. Played for Dallas and Ottawa for a day after Montreal. Played for Montreal for years, long time.
Robert Reichel never played for Montreal.
No.
No.
I'm trying to think of any other guys, but because Foley's got to have that over 200.
Matthew Schneider never played for Calgary, right?
But yeah, he also never had a 20-goal season. Roman Hammerlick never had a 20-goal season either, and I don't think he ever played for Calgary. He played for Montreal though.
All right, so pick one. Foley, or are you picking?
Go Camilleri. Screw it.
We'll see who else was under there. 1,000 games played with all those criteria.
Under 1,000 games played.
Under 1,000 games played.
Christ. Oh, man.
How many guys do they think are on this thing?
There's probably not a lot.
Actually, you know what? So Matthew Schneider did have 20 goals for Montreal, but he did not play for Calgary.
Yeah, jeez. Was that 93-94 that he had 20 goals?
Yeah, 93-94.
Because I was about to say, because I know he didn't do it in 92-93.
Yeah, and then he had 21 goals for Detroit.
Wow, yeah, he was pretty good offense. He was still really good in Detroit. For a guy who really kind of had a slow start to his career, he ended up becoming a real good defenseman for a while.
And the funny part is, good defenseman, and he was a journeyman because everybody just seemed like every team he went to, they were just dealing him.
The Rangers should have never let him go. That was a stupid move, and they got him for almost nothing. So
Alexander Karpatsev.
Yeah, and Karpatsev was good, but Schneider was a better defenseman than Karpatsev.
And what is the significance of Matthew Schneider in history? He had the other assist on Wayne Gretzky's final point, which was an assist to Brian Leach.
Yes, in the game against Pittsburgh, that they ended up losing, I think 2-1 in overtime, and it was a Jaromir Jagr goal.
That's right. Gretzky said it was appropriate that the best young player in the game scored it.
Hint. I think you can get a hint on this one.
Is there a hint? You can get a hint.
Yeah, click the X. There should be a thing. Get Lifeline. Get Lifeline.
Oh, get a Lifeline. Okay.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. See a part of the correct player's name.
Or 50-50.
We'll do the 50-50. Oh, Alex Tanguay.
Wow. Gotta go with Tanguay, I guess.
Toffoli's under 1,000 games played.
Oh yeah.
So it's Toffoli.
Yeah.
And then we still have because we got the hint, so we lost that. All right.
What?
Oh, because
what happens when you click the Oilers logo?
No, I clicked here.
Click view stats.
Where's view stats on this one?
Yeesh.
Well, your game's not over yet. Click the Oilers logo.
Okay.
Not letting them.
You can't?
Yeah, nothing's happening on it.
How do you finish it out?
I don't know. See if I can figure that one out.
Just guess a bunch wrong now, and just so it ends, and then you should be able to view stats.
What do we say for this? Oh, teed off. Yeah, okay, there's view stats.
Resets.
Yeah,
So
Camilleri
click the. All right, so there was only one. Oh, that's why, because you used. All right, see what happened. You used Camilleri for the last one, and
Okay,
he was
got
the
you.
only one for that last choice. So that's why.
Sean
Oh, so
Monahan. completely forgot
that's why we
about.
should. Yeah.
If we swap
Andrew
Tenge,
Castles would have been. Yeah, yeah. And so Andrew Castles would have been the only better option than Camilleri in that one that we selected him for.
yeah,
That was tough.
that was a tough
Yeah,
one.
it was.
We're gonna do more of those on another time. All right. All right, guys. Actually, I know we got a late start. Sorry about the technical difficulties today. It was very, very rough, and I was freaking out something bad. Anthony was razzing me pretty good on that one. So, but yeah, we're gonna have to cut it here today. There were, yeah, that wasn't, yeah. Yeah, I guessed one and then wrong by accident. Manny, thank you very much. Great show. Yeah, by the way, Romanello is the one that suggested the Igor versus Draisaitl question. And we all said Draisaitl, all of us. Because you go with the guy over, you go with the guy that's gonna play more games. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining us today. We're gonna be back again next week, hopefully sooner. We're trying to get on an Islanders prospect to come on with us, and look, we're looking forward to more good shows throughout the rest of the year, and some more fun videos. So keep your eye out and make sure you keep telling everybody about us, because I am done. I could. I was gonna make a joke that I'm just done being a bartender, but I don't want to terrify everybody. All right, guys, thank you very much, and have a great night.